Hi, and welcome to our first Out of the Darkness Oakley virtual experience. I am Jen, and I first want to say thank you for joining us today and for your patience if any glitches or issues happen as we go. Please mute your computers or phones to help with any background noises. This is, of course, this, of course, is the time of uncertainty, but it is also a time that proves the importance of connectivity. Right now, it's more important than ever that we pay attention and take care of our own and other physical and mental well-being. I hope you are taking care of yourselves, checking in with family and friends, and finding ways to stay active during this time, such as being outside, hiking, or spending time with family. By joining in today, you are sending the message that our cause of suicide prevention will never be canceled, because it can't be. We cannot let another day go by without showing that mental health is as real as physical health. I would like to thank everybody who's joining us today and also everybody for helping us to reach our goal. So far, we have raised $22,800. So that is awesome. We are doing great, guys, considering what is happening in our world today with the loss of jobs. Thank you very, very much. The Out of Darkness events help fund innovative and exciting research that will enable us to find better ways to stop suicide, advocacy events for important mental health legislation, education programs, and programs for survivors of suicide loss. You are letting others know that they are not alone in their struggle and or their loss, and you are making a difference.
You are making a difference indeed. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Oakley. Good morning to everybody that's logged in. I am so excited to help host the Out of the Darkness Oakley experience today. I've seen some folks are already logged in. I would love to see, where are you joining from today? One thing that I'm very excited about with this year's experience is that we can go beyond what our normal limits are. We would only generally see folks from maybe Oakley or the surrounding area. I'm in Sunnyvale this morning. I'm in the Bay. I know that Jen is logged in from the Oakley area, but please jump into the chat and let us know. I want to see that, we are able to erode the barriers and bring more people to the table, bring more people to celebrate with us. And I'm so thankful for that and so excited to see it. As we're going today, there might be some emotional challenges that are brought up. I encourage folks to keep a couple of numbers in their phones. So if they're worried about themselves, if they have folks in their lives, it's always good to have the suicide prevention hotline available, and that's 800-273-8255. And the Suicide Prevention Lifeline is going to have folks 24 hours a day, 7 days a week available to take your call. If you're not as willing or comfortable calling and talking to somebody, you can also text the word TALK to 741-741. And that will also connect you with somebody that can chat with you and help you sort of find a space where you're more comfortable and help you find resources that are available to you. Now, another area where we're really excited by sort of breaking down the barriers and stepping into a virtual experience is that we actually have the opportunity today to share some words from AFSP's CEO, Bob Gebbia. It's a first time for Oakley that we've gotten to welcome him, and later we have some more folks that we'll be bringing in as well. But I'm going to just kick us off with a few words from Bob Gebbia.
I'm Bob Gebbia, CEO of the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, and it's an honor for me to welcome you to the Out of the Darkness experience. A heartfelt thanks goes to all of you, our amazing friends and supporters, for participating in this event and for raising awareness and funds for suicide prevention. Now, clearly, much has changed since last year's Out of the Darkness community walk. It's a challenging time. And on behalf of all of us at AFSP, our thoughts are with you and your families during this pandemic. We hope you are staying safe and healthy. And I can assure you the pandemic has not deterred AFSP from its work. We've adapted our life-saving programs, delivering them virtually, wherever and whenever possible, including Talk Saves Lives, our most used public education program. From the start of the pandemic, AFSP has been a leading voice about caring for one's mental health, using traditional and social media to convey messages about self-care, that physical distancing doesn't mean social isolation, and about staying in treatment or seeking treatment through telemental health. Now, we continue to make progress across all areas of our work. Our investment in research has continued with 38 new studies funded since the start of the pandemic. We reached 1 million people during May Mental Health Month with our hashtag Real Convo campaign. And in June, we launched new Seize the Awkward public service ads to empower teens and young adults to help a friend who is struggling. We held 38 state advocacy days since last fall, and the first ever virtual federal advocacy, where we had 1,400 participants from 50 states contact their members of Congress to support improved crisis services for people in emotional distress. And as an organization, we are speaking out about the inequities in access to mental health care, in particular for communities of color, and we continue to advocate for ending all health care disparities. Our interactive screening program continues to be used in schools and workplaces, giving people a safe and anonymous way to reach out for support. Since the start of the program, we've connected over 180,000 people to help they would not have otherwise sought. And when suicide does occur, AFSP is there to support the families and friends with programs and resources. This year alone, we will host more than 400 International Survivors of Suicide Loss Day events to offer comfort and support. None of this work would be possible without all of you and hundreds of thousands of others. We need you to be involved because our work is more critical than ever. Based on the latest CDC data, the suicide rate in the U.S. continues to trend up, and we are concerned that the isolation and grief and economic impact of the pandemic could contribute to further loss of life from suicide. But we believe an increase in suicide isn't inevitable, and with greater investment in mental health care and suicide prevention now, we can avert any increase and save many lives. Your participation in this event is lifting up those who struggle with thoughts of suicide, and you are remembering loved ones who we've lost, sons and daughters, siblings and parents, spouses, partners, and friends. The involvement of each of you is so critical to our mission of saving lives and bringing hope to those affected by suicide. Everything AFSP is doing is a direct result of your willingness to get involved. I hope you will stay involved. Because of you, we are able to fight for a day when no one will die by suicide. I look forward to seeing you all in person at an event sometime in the future. But until then, thank you and stay safe.
That was
Excellent.
awesome to
It
have
was,
him be able to speak
uh,
at our talk. Speak
yeah,
at our walk, not
it's
at our
been
talk. A little tongue-tied.
really, that's okay. It's an incredible opportunity to welcome some of our senior leadership to be able to share their passion and not just see the passion of our local community, but also see that AFSP has a dedication that goes from every individual community that we have all the way up to our national community and that comes from an understanding that suicide does not stop at any individual county line. It doesn't only affect a single school, but instead it's, our entire state, our entire nation is a single community that is working together to stop suicide. And so there is a silver lining that we were not able to be in person together, but I'm so excited that we were able to bring Bob forward to share his words. And again, later we'll also have the opportunity to hear from some of our other senior leadership. If you are not registered already, I know folks are watching today from Facebook and from our event page. If you're not registered already, I encourage you to do so. I've added the link down below, afsp.org/Oakley. And for those of you that are registered, today is a great day to be sharing your fundraising links out to the community. So putting that out and saying, hey, suicide matters to me and I want to stop it. Will you help me? We as a community can drive forward and can create that network of support. And I know folks are logged in. I can see some really incredible folks joining us. So Sarah Mitchell is joining from Petaluma. It looks like we've got some great representation from North Bay. If you're watching in the Oakley area, you better comment so we can shout you out and give you some props for being in today. But with that, I also wanted to share this video, and this is called You Are Not Alone. This is something that was created by some local volunteers in conjunction with one of our board members, Sarah Geraldo. And it reminds us the importance and it reminds us the impact of what we're doing together and doing here as a community. So please enjoy You Are Not Alone. And again, for everybody that's out there, let us know where you're logged in from. And we'll celebrate that, because the physical boundaries of the Out of the Darkness Oakley, we've overcome those, and now we're all a part of a single community.
Suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the United States. In 2018 alone, there were 48,344 Americans who died by suicide. On average, there are 132 suicides per day. But you're not alone. Whether you have struggles with suicide yourself or have lost a loved one, know that you are not alone. While the Out of the Darkness Walk is going to look different this year, our mission to save lives and bring hope to those affected by suicide has not changed. We are a strong and resilient community, united in our effort to fight suicide, raise awareness, educate our communities, support those who have lost loved ones, and support those with lived experience. We use our voices and share our stories to provide hope. The Out of the Darkness Walk unites a community, a time to acknowledge the ways in which suicide and mental illness have affected our lives and our loved ones. Thank you for joining us here today to remember those affected by suicide.
We're back. While we're talking about donations and raising money, I just wanted to do a quick shout out. One, like I said, it's amazing how much money we were able to raise this year, considering the loss of jobs, considering this impact the coronavirus has had on our society as a whole. So I cannot thank you enough for how much money you have raised to help suicide prevention and mental health awareness. It is amazing. That being said, I wanted to give a quick shout out to our top 5 teams. You guys are awesome. You did amazing. So in number 5, we have team #BecauseGavin. Great job, you guys. Team number 4, we have Team Garrick. Amazing. Number 3, they always make our top 5. I'm so proud of you guys. Team RJ Karsten. Good job. You guys are amazing.
Awesome.
They are awesome. In second place, we have Team You Are Not Alone. Thank you very much. You guys are doing great. And our number 1 team for this year would be Remembering Bryson. So thank you all so much for being a part of this. Thank you all so much for your donations, for your support. I know it takes a lot of work, so I cannot thank you enough.
Yeah, I want to echo that accolades for the entire Oakley Out of the Darkness community. Your passion and engagement continues to impress both Jen and myself, and recognizing the challenges that we've seen this year. This community has really coalesced and come together and shown Oakley refuses to let this stop them and refuses to slow them down. I have been continually sort of overcome with pride in seeing how the Oakley Out of the Darkness community has accomplished this. I do want to remind folks, if you are a fundraiser, if you have raised $150 or more, which is an accomplishable goal, we will send out shirts directly to everyone. You're going to get that Kick Butt Out of the Darkness experience shirt this year. If you're not at 150 today, if you're like, you know what, Andy, I'm at 25 bucks. What do? I want to get that cool shirt. You actually have until November 1st. We're extending the deadline to fundraise to ensure that you have the opportunity to get the Out of the Darkness event shirt. So again, if you're on Facebook, throw in your donate link up there. Would be a great way to engage your community. But yes, absolute round of applause to everyone that has been fundraising and everybody that's logged in today, whether you're fundraising or not. We're so very thankful that you are a part of our community. Jen touched on this thought a little bit, but you know, remaining hopeful and recognizing the challenges of continuing to step forward. Sometimes it's hard to see a path forward. Sometimes it's hard to want to take your next step forward. So what we wanted to do was also share a few messages of hope from our community, and hope will be a recurrent theme for us, but enjoy this message of hope. Excellent. It's a beautiful opportunity to just sort of sit in a moment of hope and recognize that we have an opportunity as a community to create that space and to drive forward together, to take those steps and understand that we are not alone. I recognize that Jen and I jumped in together and we just sort of started talking, and I didn't take a moment to introduce myself. I apologize for that. So for folks that don't know me, I am Andy Brunig. I am the area director for the Greater Bay Area, and it really is the Greater Bay Area. Our community goes all the way up to Humboldt and all the way to the south, all the way down to Monterey, and from San Francisco to Sacramento, or just shy of Sacramento. But I want to call back that idea that I mentioned before, which is that our community does not stop at any county line. Our community does not stop at the state line. We as a collective are working to end suicide. I don't want to spend much time talking about myself today because we are here to talk about us. And I want to take a moment to really recognize, and I've touched on this before, but recognize that the path that brings people to the AFSP, it's almost never an easy path. It's almost never a happy path. But we at the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention encourage people to join us at the table. We encourage those voices to be heard. We want to be out in that community so proactively that when somebody feels that they're walking alone, that there is not a reason to take another step forward, to strive forward, to embrace and enjoy life. We are standing next to them with a hand extended saying, it is not always an easy path, but you don't have to walk that path alone. And when somebody joins our community because they are having difficult thoughts of their own, maybe even thinking of suicide, a student in the schools, a veteran, a person who's LGBTQI, whomever it is, we want them to hear that they are not alone. You are not alone. That's a topic that we'll come back to throughout our presentation today and throughout our organization's very DNA. We want people to understand that we are not alone. I want to take a brief moment to just thank everyone who is logged in today. I'm gonna be doing two things simultaneously, so I'm sorry if I'm looking away, but we've seen folks logging in from as far as Pengrove. We've got folks who are logged in from Oakley. I love to see that. Tammy has been on a tour of Out of the Darknesses right now. I think she's been at every one so far, which I love to see. And again, I want to echo this idea. I wanted to mention this because it's this reminder that we as a community are not alone. We don't have to face the grief alone. We don't have to face the challenges of our day-to-day alone. I encourage folks to be reaching out to friends and family, whether they are facing their own challenges or whether they are worried about somebody. I encourage you to reach out. It's starting that conversation. It can be an awkward conversation to start, but by golly, it's a powerful one. And those talks really do save lives. Now, I don't want my whole sort of space to be this sort of grief-laden one. I do also want to just be an absolute cheerleader to everybody that's logged in today. You are all incredible advocates. You are all incredible allies. It's 10 in the morning on a Saturday, and what are we doing? We're logged in, sharing this moment together, and I'm so thankful for it. To continue to share in our moment, I wanted to take a moment to introduce a good friend of mine and a colleague, Jasmine Boardman. Jasmine Trow, sorry, there's a combination there. Now, I'm going to take a moment to introduce Jasmine because she's got quite a lot of accomplishments, and I want to make sure that I have sort of wrapped them all up before we're really lucky we get to hear some of Jasmine's like inner thoughts today. But Jasmine grew up in the Bay Area, and her passion about suicide and suicide prevention started at a young age. She is experienced in crisis intervention, so helping somebody divert off a path towards suicide, and has worked with veterans and is currently working with our youth, which is no surprise to anybody who's logged in today. Our youth needs so much care and attention to understand that there is something that is available to them, that there is more than sad, and that there is a path forward. She is currently working in San Francisco as a mental health clinician and is working with foster youth, again, and a population of youth that sees an increased risk of suicide. I'm also very proud to say that she is a board member with the Greater Bay Area chapter of American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. And it is with great pleasure that I get to introduce Jasmine to this community. So welcome today.
Thank you, Andy. It is a pleasure to be here. I actually feel very honored to be at this virtual event. Just want to say I've really always deeply moved by everyone who participates in these events. And even though this year, unfortunately due to COVID, we are coming together virtually, and even though I cannot see all of your faces, I want you to know that you are not alone and we are here together. And if you're watching a recording of this event, the same is true for you. You are not alone and we are here together. The first time I experienced someone's suicide was almost 25 years ago. I was 14 years old. When I was in my 8th grade year of middle school, there was a Benicia high school student that died by suicide. Soon after that, my friend Cindy, who was also in my 8th grade class at Benicia Middle School, died by suicide. 3 months after Cindy, my cousin Karen, who had been living with us and was also in our 8th grade class, also died by suicide. The weight of these events was suffocating to me, and the experience of losing someone to suicide felt isolating. Due to the stigma around suicide, many people didn't know what to say to me, and a lot of people started to just avoid me altogether. And at the same time that I was experiencing this, I was also witnessing other people who hadn't even met Cindy or Karen really grieve for losing people to suicide. And so I really started to think about what I wanted to do in terms of suicide prevention. And it was at this time that I made a commitment to start conversations about suicide, because I figured if other people were uncomfortable talking about it, then I would just talk about it. Because it was affecting everyone. And I started looking for opportunities to talk about suicide and to talk about mental health. I found that more often than not, when I brought up my own challenges with mental health and my own experience with suicidality, the person I was talking to would start sharing a similar experience and would be relieved that they had a safe place to talk about it. It is an incredibly powerful experience to look someone in the eyes and say, "You are not alone. We are here together." Fast forward to 2011, countless conversations later, I found out about AFSP and their community walk in Oakland. And it was a walk for people like me and for people like us. I registered for and participated in my first AFSP event. I immediately knew that I wanted to be a part of this organization. And as sad as it was to see so many people who had been affected by suicide, it was also a safe place for me to feel vulnerable and without feeling the need to explain anything. The community walk was also a place of hope, a place full of people supporting each other, and an organization providing us with the tools to shine light into the darkness. Unfortunately, in the years after the deaths of Cindy and Karen, more of my loved ones have died by suicide. The most recent being the death of my friend's brother, Nick. And he passed away only a few months ago. So many people are experiencing the suicides of loved ones. 117 people die by suicide every day. But there is hope. AFSP offers 21 programs that promote suicide awareness, education, and prevention, and it has chapters in all 50 states. Last year, AFSP hosted 600 Out of the Darkness walks that were attended by 400,000 people. This number only includes those of us that participated in the walks last year. There are so many more of us. Can you imagine what 500,000 of us could do? If 500,000 of us participated in trainings such as Talk Saves Lives, then went on to start conversations that shine light into the darkness, 500,000 of us looking someone in the eyes and saying, "You are not alone. We are here together," saving countless lives. We need to start the conversation on suicide before the emergency room. We need to start the conversation before something happens. Asking someone directly if they are thinking of suicide will not make them suicidal. It can help them. It could save their life. Even though this year we are coming together virtually, and even though I can't see all of your faces, I feel the power that all of us have here together to really make a difference and to end suicide. We are all here because we are passionate about suicide prevention and intervention. And like Andy had mentioned, the path that we have taken to get here is often a painful one. But in the memory of people that we have lost, we are creating change and we are saving lives. And I just want to thank each and every one of you for being here and for listening to me from the bottom of my heart. You are not alone. We are here together. Thank you.
Well, I'm so deeply thankful to you, Jasmine, for sharing some of the vulnerability, sharing your vulnerability with us, with me, with this community of people that have been brought together, and your ability to show us that taking that vulnerability and having the conversation, even though it is hard, is one of the most powerful tools of change that we have available to us. And unless we embrace that vulnerability, we can't turn it into a tool. So I wanted to just take a moment to say thank you for sharing not only your powerful words of encouragement and empowerment, but also by stepping into this space and creating a safe space with every person who's logged in today and every person who will watch in the future. And we know we're going to continue to see people's participation and creating that safe space by sharing part of your path forward, because it reminds us that we all do have the ability and the responsibility to step forward together. So thank you. That was powerful and beautiful.
Thank you.
I'm going to bring Jen back up as well. We have the opportunity today to share a short video that has specifically come out of Oakley and the community of participants from Oakley. Jen, would you like to explain sort of what we're going to see here, or do we want to just pull it open and let everybody get to enjoy it?
So since we weren't able to get together like usual, we had people send in videos and say why they walk. And it's a short video. We didn't get as many as we had wanted, but that's okay because we got some, and that's all that really matters. And I think once again, this just shows that even though we can't be physically together, we are always together fighting for suicide prevention in spirit. So we will go ahead and get that video started for you.
Excellent.
name is Brianna Lewis. I'm Linda Dooley, and we're Team Hope for Tomorrow. And I walk because I had a friend back in middle school, and she tried to die by suicide, and I saved her life. And I walk for my friend Tammy's daughter, Savannah, and for other kids like her.
So that was a really powerful moment to get to see, and again, reminding us why we are doing this. We are walking for the folks who have been lost to suicide. We are walking together to celebrate those who have faced challenges or made an attempt on their own lives. And we're walking to show this community at large that we aren't alone. You are not alone. This is a message we've heard from Jasmine, eloquently put. It's a message we've heard from Jen and myself. So we're going to bridge from the Oakley community, where we got to see some really powerful photos of remembrance, to a chapter-wide, like living sort of document where we are all, we have the opportunity to remember people together. This is created from photos that people have submitted to us. I encourage you to continue submitting photos. This will continue to grow. And when Out of the Darkness, the season is over, I will release a full document that includes every single photo that we've received as submissions, because it reminds us that our community is robust and resilient, and we get to smile together and laugh together and cry together, and all of these things are an integral part of how we interact and how we grow as a community. If you would like to submit a photo, go to afsp.org/Oakley, and sort of halfway down the screen, there's a submission option. And again, I will continue to add to this document as we continue to receive photos. So I encourage you, after we finish today, jump on and add some photos. But we are going to celebrate those who have, we're going to take this moment to celebrate the loved ones who we've lost, as well as celebrate those who are still with us. And I encourage you, as we're watching, to jump into the comments wherever you're watching from, and post who you're walking for or the color of beads that you wear. We won't bring them up during the presentation of the bead ceremony, but afterwards, while we're in a space where we can all share that together, we will bring them up. But please enjoy the honor bead ceremony for 2020.
I was, kind of makes you stop for a second.
That was really
and take it, and it allows us to take a breath together and see. And I do want to bring up a couple of the comments that we saw coming in, because it reminds us. So this participant who's wearing purple beads for a friend, Dave, and blue for their friend or partner or whomever, Lex, and wearing blue for suicide prevention for us all. And I wanted to highlight this from Vanessa as well, wearing purple, green, teal, and blue, and reminding us that Jasmine is wearing multiple colors as well, and that we, in our community, as we create ourselves as beacons and share our stories and actively break these stigma down, we will hear and learn of more stories. And so it's very beautiful to get to see these moments of remembrance and moments of celebration, and those photos in there of communities coming together and walking. I love seeing the photo with the masks on, walking together. And again, I encourage folks to continue to send those photos. So again, that's at afsp.org/Oakley. And again, I will continue to add those photos in. So I think that, you know, as we continue our conversation, there's this really powerful question of like, what are you hopeful for? And I'm gonna put Jasmine and Jen on the spot a little without any warning, so surprise to both of you. But we are in a moment going to get to see what our chief medical officer, so Dr. Christine Moutier, I'll share with you what she's hopeful for. But I encourage folks to jump into the comments as well. And again, tell us, like, what are you hopeful for? We as a community are building this together. So the surprise interview section, let's start with Jasmine. Jasmine, what, you know, looking into the future, what are you hopeful for?
I am really hopeful that the more we work together, the less stigmatized talking about mental health and suicide will be. Even just in the last 25 years, there has been so many amazing things that have happened, and the conversation has really found its way into so many areas that I'm really hopeful that it will continue. And, you know, hopefully we end suicide.
Yeah.
Great.
For those of you that know me, I'm a big fan of starting a metaphor, not knowing where it's going to end up. But one that I've been sort of considering recently about suicide and about breaking down the stigma is we have these incredibly powerful advocates. We have these incredibly powerful allies. We've got Jasmine and Jen right here. We've got myself, if I could, you know, keep myself in that community. And we all pick up this flag and we march forward, and we run into this wall of stigma. We run into a society that's not comfortable talking about suicide. And it's changing. Like Jasmine said, it's changed so much in the last 25 years. It's changed so much last year to this year, and it will continue to change. And it's because we have so many people that are picking up that flag. I think, and this is where we get into the metaphor, so we'll see where it gets, is, you know, we run into this brick wall, and that's the stigma. It's decades of stigma that's been built. It's people that aren't comfortable talking about their own vulnerabilities or hearing someone else's vulnerabilities. And I know that I try and like turn into a steam engine and just drive through it. And like, what if we just break it open, then we'll change the whole conversation. And instead, recently I've thought, like, why try and bust a hole in it? We need to deconstruct the stigma. So as each advocate and as each ally is arriving at this space, instead of trying to run through and bash ourselves through, I encourage us to all like grab one of the bricks and to walk away with it and to break that little brick down. Or, metaphor time, instead use it to build a path forward. We can deconstruct the wall that is the stigma and use it to construct a broad path that has space for all of us to be walking forward, arm in arm, hand in hand. We get to build that thing together. It's by deconstructing the stigmas that we have the tools to build the path forward. I'm still workshopping it, so I'm not going to say it's going to, you know, win any awards yet in the metaphor awards, but I'm working on it. So Jen, we gave you a little extra time to think about it. What are you hopeful for as we look to next year? Is it for the local community, the broader community? I'm so excited to get to hear your thoughts.
I am hopeful that the stigma of mental illness pretty much disappears, only because with the corona and the fires in the Bay Area, I think everybody has had, it's had some kind of effect on everybody's mental health.
Yeah.
There's no way that it hasn't. I know for me personally, being stuck in the house when the fires, that was the worst for me because I am such an outdoors person. That's my happy place. That's my therapy. So to have that taken away from me on top of corona was really, really rough. So I think after this year of our nation and even the world going through such a crisis together, excuse me, that the stigma of mental illness goes away, because there's no way that you could have gotten through the last few months without at least having a few times of mental kind of breakdown yourself. I hope that the fight for suicide continues. Suicide prevention, excuse me. Let me clear that up. It's so easy to join this fight. I myself was a waitress, and I met Vanessa Perry. Her and her husband used to come in all the time. I loved them. She started the suicide prevention walk in Oakley, and I said, I want to do that. How do you do that? And she said, come to this meeting. It's not something that's hard. It is hard to put the walks together and to get everybody on one page, but to join the fight for suicide prevention and mental health awareness, it's much easier than you think. So I encourage everybody to find a way to join together and fight this, because it's preventable. We don't need to lose anybody else to suicide. And so that's my hope.
That's a powerful hope, and I really appreciate you sharing it. And just, it echoes again this idea. It takes all of us. It takes all of us working together to do it. Suicide prevention, like Jasmine commented earlier, it doesn't start in the emergency room. It doesn't start when a student gets to the counselor's office because a teacher is concerned. We are all suicide prevention advocates. We are all suicide prevention allies. And so, at the end of this, I think everybody walked in with that as a inherent space. And I want you all to walk out of this with this knowledge, like a very tacit understanding or a very direct understanding. We are all these advocates and we are all these allies. I do also want to take a moment to hear what Dr. Christine Moutier hopes for. And again, when we got to hear from Bob Gebbia, the CEO of AFSP, it was this new space that we get to be in because we are in this virtual environment. A barrier was broken down for us. Similarly, getting to hear from our chief medical officer is something that none of the Greater Bay Area's walks have gotten to do before. None of the experiences have had until this year. So again, it's this place where I'm very excited that we can bring this together. So here's Dr. Christine Moutier, the Chief Medical Officer of American Foundation for Suicide Prevention.
This is Christine Moutier, Chief Medical Officer at AFSP, and I hope for a day when there is no shame or stigma associated with any type of mental health experience, so that we can live our true, authentic selves in the world around us.
Dr. Moutier's comments are very concise and very powerful in that as well. It's an erosion of stigma that brings us together. I wanted to bring up a final comment because I love this as well. Vanessa and her girls are what gave me the strength to finally join. I walked the first year and now I volunteer with my girls. That is powerful and beautiful. And it shows us that by being advocates, we continue to attract people to our cause. We are approaching the end of our presentation today. It's so outstanding. Amazing to have gotten to see everybody and to hear Jasmine's words and to hear Jen. I'm so glad that we got to do this together. It's such a powerful space to be, and reminding us continually, we are not alone when we do this. We are together. So I wanted to take a final moment to say thank you all so much for joining. Jasmine and Jen, if you have final thoughts or comments, I welcome you to say it as well.
I would definitely like to, again, just tell everybody I'm so thankful for all your support this year. I'm hoping that next year we will be back at our Cypress Grove Park. I'm so thankful for Jasmine for speaking. I met this woman, and within 5 minutes, I was like, I love you. I think you're my new best friend. So thank you so much. And a special thank you to Andy for helping me get through this, because there was definitely some times where I called this man screaming and crying, and he was very calm the whole time. So thank you, everybody who contributed to this walk and who continues to contribute to this walk and this cause. From the bottom of my heart, thank you.
Yeah, incredible.
Thank you
It's a pleasure
so
getting
much.
to work on it with you.
Andy
Excellent.
is
Well,
very
thank you,
patient.
everybody. All right, I'm going to stop the event because I'm going to start blushing. So thank you again, everybody, for joining us at Out of the Darkness Oakley. One final reminder, the fundraising continues through the end of the year, but if you'd like to get one of the awesome shirts, raise or surpass $150, it's a very accomplishable goal by November 1st, and I'll ship it straight to you. So thank you again, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your day. Get out, celebrate, do whatever you'd like to, but remember, you're not doing it alone. We're doing that